The Niners are coming off a huge win over the Bears on Sunday night. They are now one win away from becoming the NFC's number one seed, perfectly teeing up their Week 18 matchup against who else? The Seattle Seahawks. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Katie Caldwell. This is Jeff Lloyd. Jeff, that game on Sunday night was incredible. Let's start there, and then we can get into the Niners and Seahawks. So the story for me in that one was the Bears and the Niners, two incredible offenses, two very bad defenses. You and I predicted this one could be a shootout, and it certainly was.
I also think you saw two teams that you go back 2 months ago, nobody knew where either of these teams are. And I
Right.
think both these teams, this wasn't necessarily them versus each other. I think it was let's show everybody when they got their eyes on this game that, if
Exactly.
you think you draw the Chicago Bears or you draw the San Francisco 49ers in the playoffs, you're getting your money's worth.
Right.
And just for Caleb, obviously, and Brock Purdy, the two of them I mean, there's no question about it. They just put it on a show. And it was one of those,
Yeah.
anything you can do, I can do better type of things.
Yeah.
It did feel weird because it felt like which team had the ball last was going to win.
Mhm.
Not necessarily like it was gonna lead to an incomplete pass like Caleb threw, unfortunately. So you get that, and I think both teams put themselves on display for the rest of the NFL to see,
Mhm.
and, and that's when you have an advantage here late in the season 'cause, man, we were trying to set up for some of these videos the last couple of weeks, and it was like, "Well, who's in? Is anybody really out yet?"
Yeah.
And going into this week, there was nobody that was essentially just saying, "Hey, we're good, we'll pick it up again in January." And I think that's what made last night so
Yeah.
exciting because, San Francisco, it's going to be legitimate for them, obviously, coming on Saturday night.
Yeah.
The Bears could choose to go another route in their, final game, obviously having clinched the division, and there's not much more they can necessarily do to help themselves. So I think it was one of those, let's just go out and basically empty the clip kind of things and just, let our guys go out, do everything they can. You hope for the Bears at some point Roma Odunze is coming back. You
Yeah.
hope Burton leaving was not, that critical of a thing. And you keep all this in mind, and one of the big variables and the unknowns we didn't know did come to fruition that George Kittle wasn't part of this game, and it certainly did not stop any production from that San Francisco 49ers offense.
Well, and I'll touch on that in 1 second, but another really big Brock Purdy game, the Kyle Juszczyk touchdown where he was just standing there and Brock was running around. This was one of the best games that I've ever seen from him, and we've seen quite a few in a row. Like, this is a really good stretch of time for him. It feels like right now we're seeing the reason why you pay Brock Purdy and why you do start him over Mac Jones.
And I think probably for Purdy, I think, the weeks you were sitting and, Mac Jones, no, look, you got your money. Most likely
Yeah.
you're the guy. It wasn't going to change things, but it was like, oh man, you know what I'm saying? Like he's doing pretty well. He's keeping us in these games. He's winning these games. Man, when I get back, I better be the best version of myself, or
Yep.
there's gonna be a lot of questions in press, and with the press that I don't want to answer. It's going to be questions to the head coach, that nobody wants to. These things, once they get out there and they start getting spoken about, they can start to fester and never have become or started as anything, but maybe ended up becoming
Right.
something. But Brock Purdy basically, came out last night, and for every week that he's played in this regular season, certainly justified what San Francisco gave him.
Mhm. Well, and you and I had talked so much about how different that offense looks with George Kittle, and honestly, it didn't look that different, and I don't think that's not a dig at George Kittle, but we did see the big Jake Tonjes game. A lot of talk is going to be Brock and CMC coming out of that one, but an equal talking point to me is Kyle Shanahan could easily be coach of the year with what he's done with this team, and then you just see a guy that steps into that role and then he has a really big games. Like it feels like there's just something really special happening with this offense right now.
I think it's also, it comes down to your coach. And look, you got to explain to your guys, hey, look, you might not be a starter on this team, but you're here for a reason. And, we believe that when we need to put you in there, that you're going to perform. And
Yeah.
Juwan Jennings is another classic case. They have wide receivers. They had Diva, had Ayuk. Juwan
Yeah.
Jennings always, he plays good special teams, and, all of a sudden, they got into a situation where they had to start incorporating him into the offense.
Because
And
forever
guess
it was
what?
just third and Juwan. That's the
Mhm.
only time we would see him.
And then all of a sudden, once they started calling his number, he started producing, started giving
Yeah.
what they needed. So much, that he got to the point where he was kind of threatened that maybe he wanted out. And, So that's what you're supposed to do, though. You develop everybody, and everybody has to be treated like they are on equal footing because in this game you have no idea when anybody is out, and we all know the significant of any injury that can come here, and the amount of times that guys can miss season
Mhm.
months at a time, and your whole season just can't go down the drain because basically you lost one guy or a couple, got to keep going, and obviously the defense is another example of that. And if you
Yeah.
want to talk about maybe top assistant coaches, in the NFL, I mean, what Robert Saleh did, I mean, they still can't get after the quarterback. But yet
Yep.
here is this team
Neither team
60
could.
minutes away from the number one seed in the NFC.
Mhm.
It's been an incredible job, obviously, by what San Francisco has done
Yeah.
this year. And Saturday night could be the culmination of maybe the entire, obviously, the playoff run and Super Bowl
Yep.
running through San Francisco.
Yeah, I would not be shocked about that at this point, and I think Kyle Shanahan is just such a big part of that. I also do wanna give, Ben Johnson his flowers because he matched Shanahan play call for play call, like, he should absolutely be in that conversation as well. The future for the Bears just looks so bright and so exciting, not what this video is about right now, but, I wanna move into the Seahawks and the Panthers. Was there anything that you learned about that Seahawks team after that game?
I think I like the fact that it was kinda tight, and then it was like, "Guys, what are we doing? Is this the I mean, are we really gonna blow it here? We're
Yeah.
gonna blow it to one of the 2 teams," and I'll be honest with you, nobody in the NFC South deserves it. If you wanna crown somebody the winner of the NFC South and give out another wild card bid, I think most of football fans everywhere would say, "Yeah, that's fair. That's absolutely
Yeah,
fair."
stay tuned for
8
our
and
video
9
on that
yeah,
division
I'm
later.
sorry.
Yeah.
8 and 9 ain't good enough for me. I'm sorry, 8
Yeah.
and 9 ain't good enough for me. Um, but I think it was out for Seattle, and it was, look, I mean, Carolina was scratching and clawing, but it's like, "Look, we are light years better than this team, guys. What are we doing here?"
Mhm.
This is, and if you're Seattle, guys, I was hoping maybe I could start pulling a couple guys here in the third quarter and get ready for whatever this matchup is going to be and how big it could be with San Francisco, a
Mhm.
week from now. But look, it's the road. It's late in the season. We're not grading them. A win's a win. You know what I'm saying? We're not
Right.
giving style points. It's not like the BCS where we're going to give you a no. It's a win is a win. And I think that's exactly what Seattle did yesterday. Got out of Dodge, and obviously, still a huge, huge road game left for the Seattle Seahawks team.
Let's look ahead to that road game. So on paper, to me, this one looks like a really great offense in the 49ers versus a really great defense for the Seahawks. And then a Seahawks offense that I don't quite always know what they are as much week to week. This doesn't look like the same offense that we talked about, just how explosive they were in the front half of the season. But they're going up against, as we just saw, not a great defense, couldn't get to the quarterback. How do you see this one playing out? This feels like good on good for everyone.
Not saying it's going to be exactly like maybe what we saw between Bears and 49ers on Sunday Night Football, but I would think it'd be something to that because look, yeah, it's week 18, but having number one as opposed to being a wild card is a tremendous, tremendous different
Big
story.
time.
You absolutely, you have to go for it.
Mhm.
And, I think with San Francisco and their issues on defense, I think, when you say maybe this game could conceivably be played in the 30s, I think that certainly benefits Seattle to get to that level.
I agree.
I think Jackson Smith and Jigba here is absolutely the guy. If you're San Francisco, you have to say we have to take away.
Yep.
But what level of commitment, what level of personnel does it take to do that? Because if you're going to play him underneath and you're going to play him a little bit over the top, we know there's other playmakers on Seattle that can get things done. Definitely looking forward to it. And I kind of like the way they stacked them. Because I think some people, weren't necessarily sure, between the Carolina game and, of course, the Carolina Tampa game, then, of course, Baltimore and Pittsburgh. No, 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 no. Both of these teams are in.
Yep.
But again, the difference between, one and playing through my building or, what I'm saying, pack the whites because we're on the road again, which
Mhm.
for Seattle would be 3 weeks in a row, certainly asking a lot of any franchise to continue winning 3 weeks in a row on the road. So, I think Seattle, realizes and again, I don't think anybody really thought we were gonna get to the point where it was gonna be the 49ers or the Seahawks playing for the 1 seed.
Nope.
I was still 2 weeks ago not sold yet on this San Francisco team, but they're like the little engine that could. They just keep going in every challenge, they get through it. It's gonna be a really, really great game, I think, between these 2 teams. And, Seattle is probably gonna have to do more on offense than they're customary to doing the way right now San Francisco's offense is playing. But also, if Seattle can find a way to maybe run the ball with some consistency and, you're gonna tire out that Niner defense, get them back on their heels a little bit, and most importantly, keep that 49ers offense on the sideline.
What's your trust level in Sam Darnold right now? Like, we did see such a huge jump for him, and I honestly believe that a really big part of that was his time with the 49ers, because there are people saying, "Oh, it's his revenge game." I'm like, I don't necessarily think that's how this should be viewed. I think that was a really big part of his development, and obviously just such a difference since Minnesota and then now Seattle. But then we've also seen the moments here and there where it almost does look like he's seeing ghosts back to his Jets days. What is your trust level with him right now? Also, with all of these narratives that I don't necessarily buy into, but just that he doesn't show up in the biggest moments.
Well, I mean, to be fair, this is where it all kind of fell apart last year. It was week 18, and then it was the playoffs for
That's why I
Sam
wanted
Darnold.
to
That's where
ask.
yeah, I mean, you definitely suited this one up here correctly. And well, it all comes down to Sam Darnold here. And, look, we can all have our questions. And, I think a lot of it has to do is you look at the track record and it's 1, 2, was this 5th organization? That's a lot, man. And, you've been through 5 organizations because it was Jets, it was Carolina, San Francisco, Minnesota, of course, now with Seattle.
Yeah.
Usually, first things first, you don't get to a 5th organization, usually, let alone get the job and just be handed the gig
Yeah.
for years at a time. So if anybody, and they didn't have the utmost reason to believe in Sam Darnold, but they obviously extended themselves out there to him to do that. And that's also where it's going to get tricky for them because I think what they liked is we think he has all the potential to lead our offense and we have a pretty good defense. But now do you get in a situation where, man, we can't let him cost us this. And that's where
Mhm.
it gets tough. My trust factor, yeah, just the problem with Sam is you can get a really, really good day, and then you can get to that one, either the fumble lost or the interception, and it kinda
Interception.
mars, which was probably a really, really good effort. And,
Mhm.
so I would say, as if we were gonna rank playoff quarterbacks, I don't, I'm not saying like Jordan Love's ahead of him. He doesn't deserve that. It's kinda hard to put a Caleb above him because these guys are, none of these guys have any playoff experience either. But yeah, I mean, Seattle wise, it's got to be something that's in the back ahead. Everybody, it's kind of, Seattle fandom, and hey, we've seen a game where, Sam Darnold can just absolutely lose it for you. It's
Yeah.
not like Jameis Winston level bad where it can happen, week to week to week to week. But for Sam Darnold, look, I mean, you found a franchise that finally wanted to invest in you. You've had this incredible season, and it's going to mean something if it's a wild card as opposed to being the number 1 seed when it was sitting right there in front of you to have.
Who wins this one, and what is your score prediction?
This is tough.
I can make a
I just
case for both outcomes so easily.
yeah, and it's not like I look at San Francisco like it's this insane place to play as far as, like, the home field advantage if San Francisco is not something I necessarily just think is like it's just so overbearing. But I just look, they've been there. They've been there a lot.
Mhm.
And, the way they're constructed and a lot of the key pivotal players, the Kittles, obviously, the Purdys, the Salas, and they've all been here.
Yeah.
Um, if I had to, but not with much confidence, I think San Francisco finds a way to squeak this by.